Many of my students ask, what is a data packet? When we're referring to networking, networking really wouldn't be networking at all if there wasn't the ability to send chunks of information from one place to another. So in this short video, we are going to explain what a data packet is using something that you are already very familiar with. So we are going to make a comparison between sending network data and sending a box through UPS or FedEx. And I've made a list of the types of information that are required for both events. And let's look at these. Over on the left here, we have the information included with a network data packet, which of course is going to include the data. It's going to include where the data came from or the node that it originated from. It's going to include the address of the node that it's going to be sent to. There's going to be some type of authorization or credentials in the form of possibly a password that's included that says, hey, it's okay to send this message. And then finally, we will include some type of checksum or other type of error correction to make sure that the data received is the same as the data that was shipped. So let's look at what is required when we send an item or a product from one place to another. Of course, we're going to pop the object being shipped into a box, and on that box we are going to put a label that has where the box was shipped from or the return address. We're going to include where you're shipping the box to. There's going to be postage, and the weight of the item, which basically governs the postage, is also going to be included on that label. So if you haven't already, we can draw a series of parallels here, starting out with the data being basically the same as the item that we're shipping in the box. The source address is just a fancy way of stating what we've been using for years as the return address. The return address on a package is the address of your house, where it's coming from, and the source address on a network packet is the binary version of the node from which that data originated. The destination address, similar, is the same as where you're shipping the item to. So in the network packet, there will be a binary version of the node that the data is to be sent to. And on the package, you will have an address, a shipping address where you are shipping the package to. Authorization and credentials. Normally, when we're talking about some network credential, there will be some type of password associated with that that tells the receiving item that it's part of the family or it's acceptable. In the shipping world, when you're shipping an item, you of course must have postage on the item being shipped. That is your authorization to use the service, FedEx, UPS, or USPS. That's your authorization to use that service, just like a password is your authorization to use some type of computer-based service. There's always going to be some type of checksum. That's something that we can cover in a different video. But when we send data from one place to another, we look at the data that we're sending and we write down some type of information about how the data is laid out or the quantity of data, and we include that with the packet itself. When we send a package through UPS or FedEx, we include the weight so that when that package is received, the package can be weighed and those two weights compared to make sure that there was no error in the shipment process. Same basic idea, just done a little bit differently. One we've only been doing for a few years, the other we have been doing for probably close to a century. When the data is already completed, having been transmitted and received, what the receiving device does is strip off the data and basically discard the information that's included with it. So we no longer need the source address or the destination address or any of those things. we can take those ones and zeros and basically put them into the bit bucket. We do the same thing when we receive our package. We keep the object out of the package and we throw away or recycle the box. So we've drawn parallels from 6 different pieces of information that are typically included. Well, it's actually 5 pieces of information and one is a matter of process, but these are details. And by doing so, I think we can reframe the answer to our original question. So now, when we look to answer the question, what is a data packet, perhaps we're not really going to answer it at all, except to compare it to something that we are already familiar with. A data packet is pretty much the same as a product shipment. This makes sense since network design in many cases is done by upgrading existing technologies and processes. So, off to answer the email that you probably just heard, and I hope this will help you later.